I've seen my people suffer while thieves in power grow rich. Today I promise even one stolen dollar will cost you everything. This is the story of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a leader who dared to declare war on corruption in a country where stealing public money had become as routine as the sunrise. It's a tale of courage, precision, and a promise to the people. If you're a minister and you steal even $1, you'll pay a price. By the end of the story, you'll be wondering, is this a true revolution or is it something else entirely? Let's dive into the heart of Burkina Faso and find out. It started like any other morning in Ouagadougou. Civil servants filed into government offices, markets buzzed with early shoppers, and the city's rhythm pulsed as always, but by mid-morning, whispers began to spread. Something was wrong. Phones were going silent. Social media lit up with cryptic posts. Unmarked vehicles were spotted pulling up to the homes of powerful people, former finance directors, customs officials, procurement officers, even ministers who had long acted untouchable. In a single breathtaking moment, Burkina Faso's government launched a massive operation. Dozens of officials were arrested in a coordinated sweep that caught the nation by surprise. This wasn't a small crackdown targeting a few low-level clerks. It was a bold, deliberate strike at the heart of a system that had bled the country dry for decades. Court clerks handed out sealed warrants. Military units moved into government buildings and prosecutors armed with stacks of evidence, bank records, private messages, government ledgers began their work. The people of Burkina Faso were stunned. 4 years, they had watched their leaders grow rich while schools crumbled, hospitals ran out of medicine, and roads turned to mud. Everyone knew who the thieves were, but no one thought they'd ever face justice. Now, in one dramatic day, the impossible was happening. The nation held its breath, waiting to see what would come next. At the center of this storm was an elite investigative unit reporting directly to Captain Ibrahim Traoré. This wasn't your typical anti-corruption commission full of big talk and no action. This was a war room. A team of sharp, relentless investigators who worked in secret, piecing together evidence like detectives in a high-stakes crime drama. Their mission was clear. Track down every stolen dollar, freeze every hidden bank account, and dismantle the networks that had allowed corruption to thrive under every government for generations. These investigators were no ordinary team. They had access to everything: government records, private communications, international banking data. For months, they had been watching, waiting, and building airtight cases. They knew who was stealing, how they were doing it, and where the money was going. When they finally struck, it was like a lightning bolt, fast, precise, and impossible to escape. The arrest sent ripples across Ouagadougou. Businesses that had grown fat on shady government contracts suddenly found their deals can-led. High-end restaurants, once packed with well-connected officials sipping expensive wine, sat empty. Civil servants stopped answering calls from unknown numbers, afraid they might be next. It was as if corruption itself had been declared a fugitive, and no one wanted to be caught hiding it. That evening, Captain Traoré appeared on national television. He wasn't dressed in his military uniform, which surprised many. Instead, he wore a simple civilian outfit, his face calm, but his words sharp as a blade. He spoke about the betrayal Burkina Faso had suffered. A betrayal not from enemies abroad but from its own leaders. He didn't name names. He didn't need to. Every person watching knew exactly who he meant. Ministers who built mansions overnight. Officials who drove luxury cars while Schools had no desks. Families who lived like royalty while hospitals had no electricity. Traoré made a promise that sent chills through every government office, from the capital to the smallest towns. Every stolen dollar would be recovered, no matter where it was hidden or who had taken it. This wasn't just a speech. It was a declaration of war on corruption, and it was about to change everything. What made this crackdown so extraordinary wasn't just its scale. It was its precision. This wasn't a wild, chaotic raid. It was surgical, like a skilled doctor cutting out a disease. Files were matched perfectly. Testimonies were cross-checked. There were no leaks to tip off the targets. No premature news stories to ruin the plan. For months, Traoré's team had been watching the nation's bloodstream, tracking every dollar that flowed into the wrong hands. When they moved, they cut with deadly accuracy. The people of Burkina Faso watched in awe. For years, they had seen the signs of corruption all around them. A minister's new villa, a government car at a private wedding, a hospital with no power, while billions vanished into foreign bank accounts. Everyone knew who was stealing, but no one believed they'd ever face consequences. Now, something almost mythical was happening. Justice was real, and it was happening right in front of them. As the arrests continued, a question began to grow in people's minds. If this was just the beginning, what else was out there? How deep did the corruption go? Who else was involved? In markets, homes, and workplaces, people whispered to each other, their voices a mix of hope and disbelief. Could this really be happening? Was Traoré serious, or was this just another show that would fade away? The nation was on edge, caught between excitement and fear. They wanted to believe in this new dawn, but they had been burned before. Promises of reform had come and gone, leaving the powerful untouched and the people disappointed. This time, though, felt different. The arrests weren't just for show. The evidence was real. The consequences were visible, but the biggest changes were still to come. The arrests were only the first shot in Traoré's war on corruption. What came next was even bolder. A complete overhaul of how power works in Burkina Faso. In the days after the dramatic crackdown, as the country buzzed with rumors and excitement, Traoré's government issued a series of emergency decrees. These weren't vague policy papers or promises for the future. They were immediate, binding laws that would reshape the nation from the ground up. Traoré wasn't just shaking the tree. He was digging up the roots. These new laws were like a sledgehammer, smashing through the systems that had protected corruption for decades. They were bold, they were tough, and they were designed to make sure no one could steal from the people again. Let's break down what these laws were and why they mattered so much. The first law hit like a thunderclap, a nationwide ban on offshore bank accounts for all government officials, past and present. This wasn't just a symbolic gesture. It was a real enforceable rule. Overnight, banks across Burkina Faso were ordered to freeze any suspicious money transfers. Foreign governments were told to cooperate or face diplomatic consequences. In Burkina Faso, a bold anti-corruption revolution led by Captain Traoré has shocked the nation and inspired hope. Unlike past governments, Traoré took direct, relentless action, arresting high-level officials, freezing suspicious funds, and publicly prosecuting the corrupt with speed and transparency. He passed groundbreaking laws, banning officials from doing business with the state, requiring public asset declarations, and targeting offshore accounts. Traoré's war wasn't just legal, it was surgical, sweeping through every level of power with precision. He created watchdog units, anonymous hotlines, and a digital system to track recovered assets and show citizens where their money was going. Trials of the powerful became national spectacles, signaling real accountability for the first time in decades. The revolution extended to natural resources. Traoré halted foreign gold exports, seized corrupt mines, and built a state-owned refinery to keep profits in country. Mining profits were redirected to schools, hospitals, and infrastructure, especially in gold-producing regions. This was not just reform, it was economic decolonization. Yet, resistance is growing. Foreign corporations, threatened by lost profits, have pushed back. The question now, can this revolution last? Traoré has awakened national pride, but his enemies, inside and outside the country, are powerful. Whether this becomes a lasting transformation or a short-lived rebellion depends on what comes next.